Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. I'm your host, the Exceptional One, Kim McClinton. In tow this particular evening, a glorious woman, a brilliant woman, a woman who should be mayor of Baltimore. Shannon Wright is with us tonight. She's a GOP candidate for the mayoral post in the Inner Harbor city. And we are very, very happy to have her with us tonight. There are a number of questions that we have regarding public policy and public safety in the wonderful city of Baltimore. And be more, of course. And I got to ask you tonight, Shannon, of all hopes and aspirations, why are you running for mayor of the city of Baltimore?
Because the city needs help. It needs new leadership. It needs a change of direction. It's needed that for quite some time. It's a big battle, and I get that. But we seem to be playing musical chairs in Baltimore City with our leaders so that we get the same leadership thoughts and skill sets in different positions and never seem to really get new ideas. And they're not really new. They're just, ideas that we know will work. And the city is going in the wrong direction in a lot of areas, and it's time to be a part of the solution.
Now, when you ran for city council, you spoke of the need for a city audit. And today it came out that the city comptroller has been cited for conflict of interest. And not just in one not just in one particular case or two particular cases, but in over 45 cases has she been involved in different items totaling $45 million in which she had a conflict of interest. Joanne Pratt, I want to get your comments tonight on Joanne Pratt, the Baltimore City Comptroller, your thoughts regarding that particular investigation.
Well, Joan Pratt has been the comptroller in Baltimore City for quite some time. She is a former and perhaps even current business partner of Catherine Pugh. From what I understand, she had some legal troubles in the past, and Baltimore, with its rather forgiving spirit, did not understand or did not see how that could be detrimental for the city. She's up for re-election, and the best thing that we can do is to try to make sure she's not successful. You cannot have the person in charge of the finances and the audits and all of that being on that list of the crooked and corrupt.
Yeah.
It does not work, and it is not working. But you stated your position and asked me a question with regards to COVID-19.
Yes.
And I deliberately didn't answer that question because my answer would take more than the time we had before the commercial break.
Exactly.
I am absolutely a believer that it is not a hoax.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. In the past 10 days, I've been on several calls with folks from the CDC, from HHS, with the SBA and what they're trying to do on the economic side. I was on a conference call this afternoon with the Vice President of the United States, and I am telling you, COVID-19 is not a hoax.
Okay.
I believe that there has been a lot of misinformation. See, I'm going to keep this really real for you and your listeners.
Yeah.
America has become a very soft, emo kind of country. So instead of our leaders being able to just give us the straight truth, straight no chaser, they have to take the Band-Aid off one little piece and corner at a time so that people don't have emotional and irrational panic attacks about their civil liberties. Now, understand, I believe in individual civil liberties, but I also believe in common sense and science.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I understand from the conference calls that I've been on with the folks that are making these policy decisions that COVID-19, as I said, is real.
Mm-hmm.
It is not the same as the flu, although COVID-19 comes from the same corona family as the flu. It is not the same as the flu.
Uh-huh.
The results are not the same. The duration of the illness is not the same. The outcome of the illness is not the same. The virology is not the same. So for those of you that are more concerned with your civil liberties, because then either getting exposed or exposing someone else, I would suggest that you take a minute, take a pause, take off that hat, and just look at the facts, the scientific facts. Now, I was under that impression, and I already had that belief before my sister was presumptive positive, and I have been in quarantine for the last 2.5 weeks.
Uh-huh.
So I have watched how this thing that people want to say is just like the flu made my sister sick. And it seemed like the flu, except it wouldn't go away.
Uh-huh.
And then the fever started. And then the coughing got worse. And then we did what they say and called the doctor. And the doctor said, well, there's really, even if it is that, there's nothing we can really do.
Yeah.
So basically take 2 aspirin and call me in the morning.
Yeah.
And if it gets worse, go to urgent care. We did that. They said, oh, you're running a fever. You have some very interesting symptoms, but let's rule out the flu.
Mm-hmm.
That came back negative. Checked your lungs, no bronchitis, no pneumonia. So, but still, go home. We did that. Followed up with the doctor again. A week ago, we ended up calling 911 because my sister could no longer breathe after she was coughing or during coughing. That lightheaded, shortness of breath, and tightness of chest. So we ended up having to call 911. They ended up having to come get her. They ended up having to put her on oxygen and take her to the ER.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the ER, they said, we're going to run a battery of tests. If they all come back negative, odds are this is what you've got. Reality, only problem, we can't test you.
Mm-hmm.
So we kept her overnight on oxygen, got her numbers back up, and said, okay, you're stable, go home. She was doing better, and then again she wasn't. And now she's scheduled to take a test on Sunday. COVID-19 is real. COVID-19 has, you don't make as full a recovery as you do from the regular old flu. I understand the economic implications of the way these things are being done and promoted and put out there, and I don't know that I agree with that. Matter of fact, I don't agree with that. I'm of the school of thought, though, I will say that prevent is better than cure. In this situation, though, you either prevent the illness from spreading and risk the economy, or shore the economy and risk the illness spreading. There's no way to do both.
Mm-hmm.
So I do not envy any elected leaders at this particular moment dealing with this crisis.
Well, first and
They
foremost,
can save lives that come back to a place where, although the legislation saved their jobs, the economy said no, and companies just go under.
Mm-hmm.
But I would hate to see folks value the economy more than the people, and us get to a place where we have a death toll higher than that of mainland China.
Yeah, and I am so very sorry to hear that she became ill as a result of COVID-19, the Wuhan flu. I really, really am sorry to hear that. And I'm praying that she gets better very, very soon and that she feels better very, very soon because she's a feisty young woman. You know, and she's probably beating the daylights out of that ailment right now. And I can understand not only the personal but the professional proclivity to protect people from the ailment. But I do have a tendency to believe that because men are not angels, that there's a dark or malevolent interest in terms of maintaining a power as they are corrupt over a group of people, including the fact that Governor Hogan came out early yesterday afternoon and stated that he was completely frustrated with the fact that he had put a 2 week, well, it wasn't a quarantine, but at least a a sense of self-quarantine, a request for individuals to leave their jobs, stay home. And he was driving past parks and finding people out, chasing their dogs and playing with their kids and having a wonderful time. And stated, I don't believe I gave everybody a vacation. But literally, in a sense, that's what's been created in terms of this process. And there are individuals who will suffer starting next week with the loss of jobs and loss of income throughout America, probably more than any death toll could have possibly been affixed. So I understand the intricate balance of trying to walk between public safety and the economy. But when you have 287,000 people this week file for unemployment, and that's just the beginning, and that there are Americans that are stuck overseas in various countries as a result of decisions by the State Department at the last moment, it can be quite a trying period of time. And at the city level, there are the schools, and that there are children who are, and I don't know if it's better for them to be out of school under the tutelage of their parents than to be under the tutelage of a teacher. But there is rumor that Baltimore schools will close going into late April, early May. Is that correct?
It has not been officially announced, but quite honestly, I would be surprised if they reopened this school year period.
Well, doesn't that cause a disparity for those kids who need education most, since we have been told over the years that the only way that Black Americans and Hispanic Americans will make it out of poverty is to be educated? Isn't there a moral imbalance here that has to be dealt with?
So again, education, I absolutely believe, is key to turning around generational cycles of poverty. Absolutely. Um, but it helps to get that education if you're still able to breathe on your own.
Mm-hmm. Although
So again, it's a tightrope walk.
yeah, it is a
It's
very
a tightrope. And again, not a position I envy anyone to have to make those decisions right about now. There are there's a high percentage of low-income families in Baltimore City. And because of that, there are a lot of students that get 2 meals a day. There are only 2 meals a day in school buildings. And I get how that's important and critical. It absolutely is. And I'm happy to see that there are organizations and the district itself trying to step up to fill that gap. But again, you have to have the balance between protecting the lives and the economy as a whole.
exactly. I got to ask you here because these are very tough questions. They're not easy answers to be giving on either side of the aisle. But
No.
the tough question here for the children. Well, I mean, you can go as far up as high school seniors who are not going to be able to either graduate or finish their school year strong going into college. They may have to take classes in the summer, which interrupts their college education. You have high school students and elementary students who are being told that a book of 20 pages in a packet given to them is sufficient for them to catch up on their education for the year. Many of the children don't have access to the internet or have a personal computer or a laptop. And so the public school system shut down, the same one that went out of its way to buy books from Catherine Pugh. It shut down on these particular kids. Do you think that there will be a negative impact on the city of Baltimore and the kids themselves?
I think either way, there's going to be, if the schools hadn't shut down, there would be a negative impact. And with them shutting down, there's still going to be a negative impact. But in my mind, and that's all I have to go on, it is better to err on the side of still being alive.
Okay. Now,
This virus
yeah,
is extremely contagious. Folks are clearly not doing the things that they need to do to prevent. And that's why we're seeing the spread. Now, folks have been talking about what they need to do to be able to flatten the curve. The numbers that we're seeing right now are nothing in comparison to what we're going to see if we just do nothing. If schools didn't close, if folks didn't say, try to stay home, go above and beyond washing your hands. Try not to, do things that could cause you to be a part of the problem.
Mm-hmm. But
if we did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But here goes the $1 million question. And Steve King put it very eloquently at the beginning of the week when I talked with him. It's if you held one foot and jumped up and down, people would say that the sunrise was created because of what you did. When you have the fact that we have shut down the borders, and that the greatest number of these particular cases happen to be in New York, in Maryland, in New York, in Washington State, and California. Do you believe that any part of this was just a little too much in terms of implementation? That I mean, people are criticizing Donald Trump as not being ready. I don't think the states in the local areas were ready either.
Exactly. I would have to agree with you. I don't think anybody was ready.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, if you have leadership that believes prevent is better than cure, you run different scenarios, different tabletop tests, and different forms of preparation. Baltimore was caught flat-footed, but it's not the only the only city that was caught flat-footed.
Yeah.
And I don't believe there was the last global pandemic has been a mini. So I don't think anyone was actually prepared for this to hit us in this fashion. And I get that. And I really do understand that. But now that it has and now that it's here, we have to do what we can to save lives, number one, and to take some very valuable, literally and figuratively valuable and costly lessons from this to make sure that we do whatever is possible to make sure that we have plans, contingency plans for different scenarios in place so that we don't get caught off guard again by something like this.
Exactly. Well, my earnest desire here is to make certain that people are safe, but also to make certain that people are calm about this. And there are those.
Panic won't help.
No, it doesn't. Panic ends up taking toilet paper off the shelves at the Walmart and the dollar store from people that need it most.
It does.
And unfortunately,
it does. I've seen it.
Yeah, unfortunately,
I've seen the empty shelves.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who early on seized this opportunity in terms of misinterpreting what Donald Trump said during a rally. He did not say that this was a hoax, and I never said it was a hoax. He said it was a politicization by the left to go against his campaign and to go against his administration. That's what he said. However, there are those who have gone full tilt here, going into stores, taking soap and things of that particular nature off the shelves, babies' diapers and things of that nature. People need these things, necessities. And so it feels like to a lot of Americans who might be misinterpreted as being so pro-civil libertarian that they only care about the Constitution and the rule of law, it feels like government is infringing on the rights of individuals, and at the same time that the media is instigating a panic that's unnecessarily motivated. What say you to that?
I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. I do believe, but again, so here's the problem with some of that.
Okay.
Some of these conference calls that I've been on in the last week to 10 days have been private, and some have been open to media. So the media in itself, and I never thought I would defend media, but the media in itself is in a position to make their own judgment calls between how much of what they witnessed and heard and were told do they share, and how much is detrimental to the American public and the American economy.
Yes.
Because if you're in the room and you're on the call and you hear from the quote experts how the virology is very different for this disease and what will happen statistically, the numbers of how this can explode if we do nothing and how quickly our medical system can get overwhelmed, then you kind of feel like, you see what's going on, and you see it and you hear it in a way that the American people do not, because folks seem to feel that the American folks right now can't really take the hard truth. Because I will tell you this, had I already been elected mayor in Baltimore City,
yes,
with some of the information that I've been privy to, I would have made the decisions that I needed to make, and I would have explained to people that it's going to hurt, it's going to be hard for a minute, but this is why I'm doing it. And I would have told them the straight truth. Now, there are those that say you can't do that because when you tell people the truth, it makes them panic.
Well, yeah, but
sometimes it does.
No, because the absence of truth makes people panic because people are guessing about the mysteries of life. And I'm
exactly.
let me just say this real quick, because a lot of people are going to walk away from here on both sides of the panic trough, and they're going to say, if we had not done this, millions of Americans were going to die. That's what they're going to say. And then on the other side of it, people are going to look logically at the numbers and say, wait a minute, there are less than 20,000 cases, there are less than 1,000 deaths. I mean, you're looking at Italy where 200 people are dying every single day. We're not Italy, we're not China. I think we overshot it. So where do you draw the logical balance of keeping all of this together? And then on the second part of that question, making certain that public servants don't believe that they become dictators after 30 days, which is going to happen with this particular proposal. It's beyond normal 30 days for most state of emergencies. So people become dictators at this point. What say you, ma'am?
Well, it's absolutely going to be more than 30 days.
Yeah.
For anybody that doesn't even see that writing on the wall, take off your glasses and wipe them off and look again. It's absolutely going to be more than 30 days. That's number one. I would hope that our better angels are the ones that are the predominance of the leaders, elected leaders, and that they will not follow that mindset and become dictators. I would like to hope that. Mm-hmm. But you pointed out, you said we're not Italy.
Yeah.
A week ago, we were number 17 on the list of countries with cases. Mm-hmm. Today, we're number 6.
Yeah. Okay, I understand that. And here's the
no. I'm not finished.
Okay, go ahead. Speak on.
Our numbers 2 days ago were the numbers where Italy was 2 weeks ago. I would hate for someone to make a decision today based on misinformation and lack of full understanding that has us being worse than Italy 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
And I do not believe that it is the responsibility, the right of any elected official to gamble with people's lives.
Gambling with people's lives and asking them to make sacrifices beyond those that they can bear are two distinct things. And we do not have the medical system or the scientific system that Italy has. Ours is far better, far superior. And we were making moves in America, Donald Trump closing the borders as of early as January 31st against China. Italy never closed its borders until recently, when it became outlandish. It's just, I understand exactly what you're saying. The prescription being that's balances on the beam of prevention. But it intoxicates individuals sometimes with too much power. And then you have individuals like the mayor of a city in Illinois who says that they are in control of the Second Amendment and that you can't buy any guns during this time period. And these are some of the concerns that people do have in America. And rightfully so, when we started off talking about the corruption in Baltimore, where's the money going to come from to pay for the small businesses and the employees who are about to become unemployed this week because small businesses can't keep their load on their books?
Well, that question would be much easier to answer if there had actually been a full audit in the last 20 years.
Yep. Sure enough.
It comes back to the everyday problems in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
No one, I don't care who they are, can give you an accurate answer to that because there's no audit, there's no accounting, there's no way to be able to give you an accurate answer to that.
Exactly. Shannon Wright, what say you about the next few weeks? And we'll have you come back in the next few weeks to talk about this for the city of Baltimore and your campaign. But what say you should be the next steps that Mayor Young makes? Because you know that young people are walking the streets and they will not be a summer jobs program in the way that it was in previous years. What say you Mayor Young should do in the next few weeks?
So I would think that Mayor Young should look at really reaching out to the governor, to the state and the federal levels to hear their real expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Directly from the source, number one, and then plan accordingly. If you know that the federal guideline or recommendation is about to be stated that schools should not reopen this calendar year,
mm-hmm.
then by gosh golly darn, it would seem to me if I'm Jack Young, I need to be putting in some things in place to do things that I should have already done, which is to shore up the infrastructure of my city, be able to look at where the most low-income families are and get some services to them in terms of Wi-Fi and connectivity, which should have been done a long time ago.
Yep.
Because you can't, you already got failing curriculum. You building old, musty, moldy buildings that have no heat or cooling. You weren't doing a great job before. But this is that time where all elected leaders, not just Jack, all elected leaders need to rise to the challenge and use this as an opportunity to strengthen your city, your state.
Mm-hmm.
Not sit back and just say, well, now I am king, but to actually, heavens to Murgatroyd, put people first and give some thought to what will it take to actually shore up this city so that at the end of this, it comes out better than it was going into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you might have noted that we haven't taken a commercial break because this is a very important discussion for the inner city. Shannon Wright, who is the GOP candidate for Baltimore, is talking principally about some things that need to take place. Muriel Bowser, I hope that you're listening. It's more than just shutting down churches and making people not come together in a restaurant. You're talking about some social issues that have never been addressed correctly because of dependencies that have been put on the social welfare system. Now there are threats to that social welfare system going into the fall, in the wintertime. You have all of these young adults, these children, teenagers who are sitting at home right now, unguarded, unprotected. Unprotection normally leads to an increase in childbearing. So there are a lot of issues coming down the road, 9 months, 12 months from now, that are going to cause some financial duress to these particular cities. In addition, I'm quite certain that with the loss of sales tax and the loss of property tax and the loss of all the other taxation and revenue to the city of Baltimore, which has not had an accounting in the past 20 years, that there is going to be a climate of either cutting taxes in 2021 fiscal year or raising taxes in cutting programs or raising taxes. Shannon, got to ask you here, what would you favor?
Honestly, for Baltimore, I can't speak for any other city. I would favor doing a complete and actual audit to be able to see where we can cut the fat.
Yeah.
You cannot make an educated decision on something like that without knowing what you actually have to work with.
Exactly.
So I would look at what we would just honestly have to work with, what programs are funded at what level, which ones are working and which ones aren't, scale back what's not working or cut it out, scale up what is working, see what the difference is of cost, and where you can reallocate those funds.
So raising taxes would not be your first option?
No.
There you go.
No.
And that, my friend, is scaring the bejeebers out of a lot of people across America because they can see the red tape coming one way or the other. Shannon, how can people get in contact with you and support your campaign for for mayoralship of Baltimore?
Don't put that out there.
I'm so sorry.
Trying to get me in trouble.
for mayoralship.
Folks can reach my campaign and me directly through either writeforbaltimore.com, writeformaryland.com, or Write for Baltimore on Facebook.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I am very, very reachable. Matter of fact, I'd like to stick around a little longer if you're not really ready to get rid of me yet.
No, I'm not ready. If it wasn't for the fact that I got to do these commercials, I would have you on for the whole period of time. And I will have you on for the whole period of time. We'll play this one commercial, and we'll come right back, ladies and gentlemen, with Shannon Wright. There are lots of important questions to ask her. Coming up in the 10 o'clock hour, Tom Johnson will be joining us. He is a managing partner for Hill Restaurant Group, LLC, out of Washington, D.C., the owner of Hawk and Dove Restaurant. In addition to that, the one who stood up to the mayor and said, "You don't have a constitutional right to shut down my restaurant." Well, because she took full pleasure in doing it, there are going to be some people laying off in the following weeks. We got more to come right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I want to thank you so much for coming back. We got about 4 minutes left with none other than Shannon Wright, who is running for mayor of the Baltimore City in Maryland. There's a title for Baltimore City. What is the title for Baltimore City?
You mean the nickname?
Yeah, the nickname for Baltimore City.
Charm City.
Charm City. There you go. And how charming that city is right now. When the mayor of the city,
It ain't there shooting that now,
the mayor of that city told us all that what we should do is stop shooting and killing one another so that we could actually spend some time keeping beds open for Wuhan flu or COVID-19 patients. I want to ask you there, was that a responsible action on the part of the mayor of the city? Are you happy with the reaction that he's had regarding public safety in the city itself?
You know, in this election cycle, I've had the opportunity to sit on panels and forums with Jack, and he's an interesting person. I will say that he is an interesting person.
Yes, he is.
I would like to hope that in that situation I would not have said that. But there are several other things that Jack has said that I know I would not have said, such as, put down the guns and let's put up some boxing matches so that everybody can duke it out. Or, you know, my hope for our crime plan for the numbers is for a cold winter. Or, you know, so that folks will stay home off the streets, put the guns down, watch TV with the kids and help them with homework. You know, there are several winning statements that I'd like to think that I would not have said. I understand the frustration and the sentiment, but part of that frustration and the sentiment is that the folks that are playing musical chairs, going from working for a council person, being council presidents, now being mayor, and nothing has changed. The city has not improved. So if you couldn't do it before, I don't have much faith you can do it now. And I really have even less faith that you have even an idea, an inkling, or a clue where to start to try and turn things around. It's time to clean house in Baltimore.
You know, I'm going to tell.
It's time to clean house.
It's time to clean house. And I'm going to tell you right now, one of the biggest deficits that Baltimore will have in fiscal year 2021, after everything that we go through with the coronavirus, will be the lack of an audit, a lack of fiscal accountability. The people of Baltimore are going to pay a very heavy price. What say you, ma'am? What should be done?
Well, I think we need to start doing that audit now. It's not like all the departments are just open and business as usual. Now might be the time to literally and figuratively clean house. See what's going on. Lift up the cover. Shake it out. See what's up under there.
Yeah. Because it
hasn't been done. It needs to be done.
Yeah, you don't have a choice coming into fiscal year 21, because the question will be not whether you can raise taxes, but how much stuff can you cut in order just to get under the budget. Yeah. And that's going to be hellacious for a lot of people.
You know, the city needs to hold itself to the usually you expect your elected leaders to hold themselves to a higher standard. But in this case, the leadership in Baltimore doesn't even hold itself to the standards that we all, as individuals, hold ourselves to in balancing our own personal finances.
Exactly.
I can't decide, listen, I'm going to just cover my eyes and just write a check and hope it passes, hope it clears. that makes no doggone sense.
It doesn't. And I don't know.
I can't go to Uncle Sam on April 15th and be like, well, you know, it was kind of a rough year this year. Instead of me giving you a check to cover my taxes, how about I raise taxes? You give me some grant money. We throw some new programs up in here that we can get some money from other agencies.
There you go.
You can't do that at home.
And, you know, it's every city, every state had better start looking at your audit process now. And money that you haven't spent, you might want to hold on to it for a little bit, because there are some times ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, Shannon Wright, baby sister in chief that she is. You can find her at Wright for Maryland. Forgive me, WrightForBaltimore.com. WrightForBaltimore.com. She is a GOP candidate for Baltimore Mayoral position. And I thank you, and God bless you and yours as you fight through the quarantine. And give your sister my very best. Tell her that we love her.
Mhm. I absolutely will, and thank you for this opportunity.
God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, Shannon Wright, I'm telling you that we need some. This is the time for adults to enter the room. We don't need no children talking right about here. We need some adults. Listen, people ask me at this particular hour of the night, Ken, why do you always stop here? But it's very simple. It's about the kids. No, it's not that you have to know where the children are. The children need to know where you are.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?